This begins in silence. Not the kind that feels peaceful, but the kind that feels unfinished. In a quiet corner of the 2009 Geneva Motor Show, a father and son unveiled something strange, a small, round car. No engine rumble, no exhaust pipe, no gasoline. It didn't run on fuel or batteries or anything you'd expect. It ran on air, compressed, stored, and released. They said it was the future. Big companies lined up, promises were made, a launch was set. And then, nothing. No cars, no headlines, just quiet. So what happened to the world's first air-powered car? Let's find out. The dream began at Geneva. The Motor Show is where automotive giants like Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren flex their muscle and elegance under blinding lights. But in 2009, tucked away in a modest stall, stood something that didn't belong: the AirPod. A bubbly, almost toy-like vehicle, no taller than a refrigerator. Its creators, Guy and Cyril Negra, stood beside it. Not showmen, but engineers. What they had built was a car powered by compressed air. Not hybrid, not electric, just air. At first glance, it seemed too simple to be real. But it wasn't just a prototype. They had working models and contracts. Tata Motors of India bought the rights to manufacture them. Air France considered them for airport use. Cities in Europe were in talks. The plan was bold. Launch production in India, start small, scale fast. Refuel in 90 seconds, zero emissions, zero fuel bill. A dream solution for a world in climate crisis. But today you won't find an AirPod on any street. No production lines, no waiting lists. The air-powered revolution made a lot of noise that year, then vanished. To understand how the AirPod was supposed to work, you need to forget what you know about engines. There's no combustion here, no spark, no battery cells quietly draining, and just air. High-pressure air doing all the pushing. The idea was simple in theory. Store compressed air in a tank, feed it into a piston chamber, and let the expanding gas do the work. The pressure forces a piston down, turning a crank which drives the wheels. When the piston returns, the air is released, cold and clean. The team at MDI developed a dual piston system, one small, one large, to reuse pressure efficiently. Less waste, more distance. They even claimed that the expanding air helped regulate the engine's temperature. No overheating, no wasted heat, no emissions. They proved it worked in test drives, but engineering was only half the story. The AirPod looked cartoonish, small, round, cheerful, yet beneath its playful shell was rebellion. This wasn't just a car. It was a challenge to the entire automotive world. The original prototype weighed only 220 kilograms and could travel up to 200 km on a full tank of air, with a top speed of about 40 mph. The real selling point wasn't speed, it was simplicity. You could refill the tank in under 2 minutes at a high-pressure station or plug it in at home and let the built-in compressor do its job overnight. No tailpipe, no fuel bill, no carbon guilt. For urban life, it made sense. Compact, cheap to run, and clean. Later, MDI launched the AirPod 2.0, heavier, slower, shorter range. The specs dropped, the weight rose, and doubts began to surface. MDI blamed delays on regulations, licensing, and politics. Still, the dream persisted. An engine powered by the same thing we breathe. But cracks began to form. Prototypes existed, media buzzed, investors lined up. Tata Motors and Air France had plans, and even a $5 million Shark Tank deal was on the table, until it fell apart over North American licensing. On the surface, it looked like business drama, legal hurdles, missed deadlines. But beneath that, something more troubling: the physics. Compressed air as fuel sounds magical, but making it practical is another story. Some suspected that despite clever engineering, the math didn't add up. MDI stood by its design, insisting the world wasn't ready. But one by one, deals collapsed and whispers grew louder. Maybe the AirPod wasn't defeated by business, but by the laws of thermodynamics. The beauty of the air engine was its simplicity. But simplicity doesn't always win against physics. Compressed air stores energy, but inefficiently. Pressurizing air wastes electricity, and when it's released, it cools, dropping pressure and power. It's a built-in flaw. On paper, MDI's 80 kW tank could store 11.2 kilowatt of energy, but half was lost as pressure dropped. Real tests showed 4.5 kWh delivered. Some analysts said only 1.9. The numbers didn't lie. MDI claimed 160 km of range, but independent tests found as low as 68 km. Compressors were just 58% efficient, and overall plug-to-wheel efficiency was 23%. Electric cars often exceed 70%. Even using renewable power, most energy was lost in compression. Torque and cooling were another problem. Electric motors excel at low-end power, but air engines struggled. As the air expanded, it cooled and lost pressure, reducing torque. Heating it would help, but destroy efficiency. MDI reused exhaust air for preheating and used lightweight materials to cut resistance. It worked, barely. But scaling the tech for larger vehicles like buses proved impossible. The AirPod wasn't crushed by competition. It was cornered by the very thing that gave it life: air. Still, it isn't completely dead. Companies like Zero Pollution Motors and Air Future are trying again with better designs, rotary engines, smarter thermal systems, and lower pressure setups. New prototypes have reached a 140-kilometer range with 90% of EV efficiency. Not revolutionary, but impressive for a car powered by air. No lithium, no cobalt, no mining, just pressure and motion. It won't replace Tesla, but maybe it can live in its shadow, quietly doing what it was always meant to do: move people cleanly. The AirPod was supposed to change how we move through cities. Light, simple, silent. It promised a world powered by the air around us. That promise never came true, not yet. Whether it was physics, poor timing, or business failure, the dream faded. But somewhere in small labs and quiet workshops, others are still chasing it. The idea isn't dead, it's just waiting to breathe again. And maybe one day, the sound you'll hear on a busy street won't be an engine roaring to life, but something softer, a whisper of air.